Welcome, everybody, to the first official Win Calm Flames podcast, first podcast of the year as well. We haven't spoken to you in quite a bit now. Obviously, a lot has gone on in Flames land since we last spoke in the fall, from the Flames getting back to 500, then seemingly dropping off immediately. Zayne Pareks, historic World Juniors, Ryan Huska just being Ryan Huska, trade rumors still picking up. Lots to talk about. I think we'll kick it off by talking about I think the biggest news is obviously Zayne Parekh's World Juniors. He was top of the headlines for pretty much the whole 2 week tournament. I don't think I saw headlines about any other player in the whole tournament more than I saw about him. And Canada didn't even make the gold medal game. He just seemed to dominate the headlines. His on ice stuff, off ice stuff, he just seems to be a guy who just kind of draws the attention. Obviously, his play on the ice was the biggest thing. Obviously, setting the Canadian record by a defenseman in points. He looked dynamic out there. He also looked a little small at times. I think it definitely kind of opens my eyes. I haven't watched him a ton. I haven't watched a ton of the Flames this year. I watched Zane a bit in the OHL, but seeing him play in the World Juniors against his age group, but the top of the age group, not like the OHL we were playing, 15, 16-year-olds who, aren't going to go anywhere in hockey. World Juniors is the best of the best. You could definitely tell right away he's absolutely dynamic offensively, and defensively he's got a lot to work on. So yeah, I don't know if obviously Alex, if you had any other opinions, but I think it was a good turn, obviously an amazing tournament for Zane, but it definitely, yeah, you can't deny that there definitely are a lot of areas where he still has to work on, but overall I think is a really good showing.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of went into the tournament knowing like what if you had watched him and if you've kind of followed his career up to this point, you knew what Zayne Parekh was all about. I mean, we saw it a little bit in Calgary for the 11 games he played this year. But yeah, super, super dynamic offensively, does a lot of really good things with the puck, can move it up ice, can get through guys. He creates a ton of opportunities for himself and his teammates. And yeah, there is some deficiencies definitely defensively for sure. Um, but man, he was unbelievable. Like again, like you, I admittedly have not. I've only really seen his highlights. When he was playing in junior, never really caught a full, Saginaw game. But watching him in Calgary this year, the short period of time we had, he wasn't really given the opportunity to be himself. I would imagine. I think they tried to kind of turn him into a different player. He was playing on the third pair for really all the games. He got maybe a couple games and on power play one, and it wasn't even for a full game. Um, they didn't really let him be who he is, and um, we got to see it on full display at the World Juniors, like what he's all about and how he can play. He was unbelievable. I mean, every time he touched the puck, it was like he was making something happen. And again, I know he took a lot of flack for his play on the defensive end, but I was watching and like you're reading all this stuff on Twitter and the media, and it's like, well, have you never watched this player play? Like, if you've never
Yeah.
seen him play, it's like, isn't he good defensively? Like, no, he's not. Um, but at the end of the day, he's 19, and I've said it so many times already, over these past few weeks. He does the things that you can't teach. How dynamic he is with the puck, how he creates offense, how he makes him and his teammates better. Those are the things you can't teach. The things you can teach, him getting better defensively, his compete levels on the defensive end, and him just needing to get bigger, stronger, a little bit quicker. Things you could work on, which I'm absolutely fine with him hopefully coming back into the lineup after he's recovered from this injury that it looked like he sustained in the semifinal against Czechia. It looked like it was his shoulder again, and that scared the crap out of me
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh no, he already missed so much time, but came back in that bronze medal game and looked great. So if he can just work on those few things, and if the Flames can get him to be a little bit better defensively, yeah, I think he's going to be just fine. I mean, like I said, he's so dynamic. He's so good with the puck. He's probably the most skilled player that the Flames have on their roster. And that's saying a
100%.
lot considering he's 19 years old. He's unbelievable. So I was super impressed by him. I was really impressed by Reschny too. I didn't go into the tournament with a ton of expectation for Reschny. Like, obviously he played PP1 the entire tournament, which I was like, and he got better like every game. I thought that first game against Czechia, it was like, okay, he doesn't look amazing, but again, it's game one, and I thought every game that the tournament went on, he got better and better and better. And he was asked to play kind of a role that he's maybe not used to. Like he in North Dakota right now, or even when he was in Victoria last year, he was obviously a top line player, given a ton of offensive situations. In this tournament, he was kind of asked to be a defensive guy, win a ton of faceoffs, play on the PK. Um, and then he was obviously given that opportunity on power play one. And yeah, like I said, I just thought he got better and better, so tenacious on the puck. He's got a lot of skill. His speed is a lot better than I thought it was. He's just a dog on a bone. Like, man, that's a player I'm really, really excited about. I'm excited to see how the rest of his season kind of goes at North Dakota, because I know when he left, he was on fire, and then he has that tournament, which I thought he was really good in, and now he gets to go back and hopefully tear it up again. Because I think he's got all the tools. I don't know if he's going to be a top line player. I would be shocked if he is. But man, if he can come in and be a really good 2C kind of Swiss Army knife guy, yeah, it's a player you absolutely take at where they got him at 18 in the draft. So
Yeah.
honestly, if you're a Flames fan, you probably had a really good time watching this World Junior with how those two played.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was the stuff off the ice with Parekh that, for whatever reason, he caught a ton of flack for. And, he had, I think someone in our group said it, but it's like he had this historic tournament where he quite literally was the best Canadian defenseman at this tournament in terms of point production, and nobody was talking about it. All they were
Yeah.
talking about was him saying that NHL players are robots, and then him having to apologize for it was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It seems like the Flames brass was very butthurt by that. And it's not surprising to me, because they have a team full of guys who have never done anything. And, it's insane to me. But he had such a good tournament that it's like no one's talking about the hockey he played, which
Yeah.
is
It's
not is
crazy.
nuts to me.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I think he caught a lot of flack for that, and even his defensive play, which to me was a little ridiculous. Like you said, we all know what he does, what he's good at. Like he's not there for Canada to defend. Like their entire blue line was pretty much an absolute mess in their own zone. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
yeah,
He
if
wasn't
I'm
even,
look, yeah, he
yeah,
was
I didn't
really
even think he was that bad, to be
no, he
honest. I think he
wasn't.
got
Yeah, that's
blown
the
way out of
thing.
proportion.
And he's not there to defend. Like if I'm looking at that roster, I'm like, what's Ben Danforth doing? What are those guys doing? Or their sole purpose is to be a big shutdown
Yeah.
defenseman, and they struggled. Like Zayne, we know he's going to struggle defensively, but he's putting up a historic amount of points. So like, which no one else in that blue line was doing. It was pretty much all him, and he was the only guy who could make a pass or a breakout pass most games for them. It
Like that
was
pass he made against Finland to Iginla was
yeah, just
absolutely ridiculous.
I've
And
noticed
like,
that's go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, no, it was like you were saying with the production. Like, it's one thing if he was defending poorly and then didn't produce at all. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
then there's absolutely a fair point to make. But like,
CERN, yeah,
13 points in 6 games, insane,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely nuts.
Like how many unreal, like future Hall of Famers, NHL defensemen of Canada had played for them at the World Juniors, and no one has put up more points than Parekh did. And they didn't even make the gold medal game. So it's not like they were this super juggernaut that was just, putting up like we used to see back in the day, like 15 goals against Denmark or something. Like, yeah, they scored a lot of goals, but they weren't this historic offense. And it seemed like every single game they played, every single opportunity was going through Parekh like 9 out of 10 times. On the power play at even strength, like he was just the only one doing anything from the back end. So I think, yeah, a lot of his criticism is unjustified. I mean, again, he's 19. He's pretty frail. Like, yeah, you're going to expect him to get worked in the defensive zone sometimes.
Yeah,
At the
absolutely.
end of the day, you're watching his offense, and he proved that he's an elite, or I say generational offensive talent on defense. And I think that's all you kind of really hope for from the World Juniors. Like, I don't think anyone was hoping he would go out there and look like prime Chris Pronger or Shea
Yeah,
Weber on defense. Like, that's not who he is, and he's still 19. So, yeah, all in all, I think that it was a great tournament for Parekh. Like, PR backlash aside, which again, I don't even think he did
insane.
anything wrong. That was just a ridiculous. That's just how the Calgary media operates. Like you said, historic tournament. You think that's all they'd be talking about and hyping up. Instead, they're talking about comments he made about NHL players
Yeah,
being robots, which was
yeah.
ridiculous.
That
But just
that first game that the Flames played after the World Juniors end, like they're at the intermission. You have Francis and Brendan Parker, and I forget who the other Brett Kahn is it, and they're talking
yeah,
about it, and they didn't even mention it once, like how good he was. Oh yeah,
No.
he set the Canadian record for most points by a defenseman. He was one off the like just World Junior Tournament record as a whole, which was
Yeah.
Rasmus Andersson's dad did it for Sweden way back when.
Like 40 years or
And,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and like nobody talked about the hockey he played, and I think this whole even like the defense like that he played like is getting blown again way out of
Out of
proportion.
proportion.
Like I
Yeah.
don't want to compare him to certain players because he's still 19 and we have no idea what his future looks like. Like I remember when Quinn Hughes broke in. I'm not saying he's gonna be Quinn Hughes, but his defensive game was a mess. He had that really good rookie year in terms of point production. Like I think a lot of people forget about that COVID bubble year. That first year that they didn't have Tanev, and he was kind of a circus back there. And you can see as he's gotten older, as he's matured, he's gotten stronger. Like his defensive game has only gotten way better. And now he's undeniably the second best defenseman on the planet. Again, I'm not saying Zane's going to be that type of player. Like, I mean, your aim, if he ends up being it, like amazing. If not, oh well. But even like Erik Karlsson is going to the Hall of Fame. He's never been
Terrible
good
defender.
defensively,
Yeah.
and but
Terrible.
like, and again, I think I forget who said it, but they always gave Karlsson a guy to offset his defensive
Yeah.
deficiencies.
Mark Mathot he had for years, and that was like some of his
exactly.
best years. Yeah.
Yeah, if the Flames can find him that guy, which I already think they do in Kevin Ball,
Yeah, exactly.
you should be able to hide some of those defensive lapses that he may have. But again, he's 19. He's barely even scratched the surface of. He's played 12 pro hockey games. I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not exactly worried about him. And I think this tournament as a whole, for me at least, gave me so much more confidence in his abilities and how he can play.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
very impressed. I was very happy with the way that Parekh played. I mean, it was hard not to be happy. I
Yeah.
thought he was really good. And I just wish that this whole, the comments he made didn't get blown out of the way that they did, because I think it was really stupid. It's not like if you watch the clip, he's like laughing through the whole thing. It's not like he's saying it in a serious tone
No.
either.
Yeah, that's
And
just who he is. Yeah.
yeah, and I want to say a lot of people probably read it and went, oh, but like you watch the clip and like he's having fun with the media guys are laughing.
Yeah.
It's,
It
I hope that they don't, I really hope they don't turn this into another Matthew Tkachuk situation
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
where they say something to him and he's like, F this, like I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Because,
Tone it down. Yeah.
if you remember, whatever 5 years ago, like when all that stuff with Jake Muzzin went down, that's what led
Beginning
Tkachuk
of the
probably
end.
being
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I really hope that, with the best prospect they've had in the last 10 years, I really, really hope that
Let him
um
shine. Yeah. Do his thing.
just let him be him. He's going to be your
Yeah.
best player, hopefully. It's insane to me. But that's the Flames for you. I want to
Me
say
too.
Ryan Huska was probably pretty upset about that. Ryan Huska was
Yeah.
probably upset watching the entire tournament
Oh
unfold.
yeah.
The
Anytime
way he was
Zayne had the
playing.
puck over the red line, he turned it off. He just wanted to watch his defensive zone play.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's another thing. I like jumping back to the Flames kind of and how they're going to use Parekh. That's something I'm definitely concerned about. I mean, he's obviously banged up again, so I wouldn't be surprised if they send him for a conditioning stint, which I think is a really good idea. But after that, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, especially after Andersson is, most likely gone here in the next few weeks. There's going to be a big hole on
Hopefully.
the right side. Like, are they going to use Parekh? Are they going to let him kind of take the leash off him, or is Huska going to do what he did at the beginning of the year and kind of just put him in and out of the lineup, kind of throw him with a different partner every night, give him like 10 minutes, a power play assignment here and there, but kind of just have this leash on him and essentially just kind of just not let him play his game and just kind of want him to be this defensive specialist, which he's never going to be. So that's my concern. It's still so early, but I mean, I think
Yeah.
what we've seen from Huska, not just from Parekh, but I mean, you look at what, Stromgren comes up finally after years of people saying, give him a chance. He gets 8 minutes. Huska sits him, and then the next game he's scratched for Justin Kirkland. It's like,
Yeah.
Roy Cairns had the same experience earlier in the year where he's up for what felt like 5 seconds and then immediately scratched, sent down again. So I think it's definitely something that I'm a little worried about and monitoring is, how Huska's handling these guys. Because at this point in the season, like, look, you're in the middle of January. There's less than half the year to go. You're third last in the league. You're what are they, 7, 8 points back of the playoffs at time of recording. Like, you're not making the playoffs. This should be a building block for the future. Like, you should be getting Stromgren, Karen's, Parekh, like Hunter Burstevich, like Kuznetsov. He's played well. Like, all those guys should
They
be
both
getting
have, yeah.
their reps in the lineup. There's no reason to put Justin Kirkland in the lineup over those guys. There's just not. Like, you're not. I know the organization will argue that they're fighting for a playoff spot. And I would argue that even if you were, you should put Parekh in the lineup. Like, he's going to
Yeah, he
do a
makes you
lot
better
more in 10
today.
minutes than a guy like Pichel. Like, a guy like Pichel, you're pretty much just throwing him out there saying, let's hope we survive for 10 minutes. Whereas Parekh, you can use him on the power play. You can hope that he can contribute offensively. Like, so even if you are trying to make the playoffs, I think scratching Parekh is a bad decision because I think he gives the Flames a better chance to win. Even if you're only using him on the power play for, a few shifts a night, like, I still think it's worth giving him those reps. So, yeah, I think it's definitely look, I think we all know that we're not fans of Ryan Huska, but I think I think that the more the season goes on, the more obvious it is that I don't think he's the right coach long term. Like, he strikes me as a coach that a team brings in as a stopgap between their like window closing and their window starting to open again. And I think that's like, unfortunately, given his contract status and the extension they gave him before this year for God knows why, he's definitely not getting fired this year. I think next year, though, if
Definitely
they
not.
start slow again, I could see them probably saying, okay, maybe we should change things up because, as we know, their goal is to make the playoffs every year. So if they count this year as a blip, sure, whatever. But if they start slow again next year, which I would not be surprised at all if they do, because most of their core players are just getting older. Huska's not going to change his systems. I think the same thing is going to happen next year. I think that could be the push that could maybe make Conroy and ownership reconsider Huska's long-term future. At least I hope,
Yeah.
because yeah, I think you know, Parekh, and then, what happens when a guy like Reschny is ready to go, or all these other guys they have in the AHL. They got 2 more first round picks coming up this year. One of them, probably in the top 5. Like, the
Boy,
thought of having Ryan Huska coaching a Gavin McKenna or a Stenberg, who's a pretty small guy, is just pretty nightmare inducing, honestly. Like, I just think
agreed.
that would be a pretty scary thought, getting those like elite talents and having them have to develop under Huska. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but at this point, I'm hoping Huska doesn't last much longer after this year, and they get someone else who's maybe a little more future focused. And I think, from what Conroy says and how Huska coaches has kind of been two different things so far. I think, Conroy's really touted the youth movement, and yeah, credit where it's due. I think Huska's done a good job with like guys like Kuznetsov and that. I think on the defensive side, he's pretty good at managing that, but forwards, I think he just has no clue.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
that's why we're, in game 44 or whatever, the third last, and Justin Kirkland's still playing, which I think is just doesn't make any sense for the team now or in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about the long-term development of some of these guys under Huska. I've seen a lot of people say, well, you want a tank and Huska's a bad coach, so like, why don't you want him? Like, that's not really the point I think we're all trying to make. It's that, right before, I want to say it was right before New Year's, like Zary started finally getting hot. It's like, okay, like this is kind of the guy we saw in his first year. And then next thing you know, he's playing on the fourth line. Like, what? Like, sorry? Like, what are we doing here? And then earlier in the year, Coronado was getting scratched. There's this, for whatever reason, they have this obsession with Adam Klapka. Like, I know he's a younger-ish guy, but like, I don't know what the obsession is. Like, I was at that game in Montreal the other night, and I'm like, because they didn't have a morning skate, and it was an optional skate, and I'm like watching warm-ups, and I'm watching the line rushes, and I'm like, sorry, Klapka's playing with Huberdeau and Kadri? Then that fourth line was weird. It was Frost, Stromgren, and Umberg. I'm like, what? What is happening here? I do worry about like I said, I worry about the development from the forwards. Yeah, I think he's done a good job managing the defensemen. I mean, I don't think any of us expected Yan Kuznetsov to be as good as he's been. And man, that looks like a guy that really helps out. Like their left side was pretty grim. Maybe outside of Ball to start this year, Kuznetsov has kind of come up and been a revelation. So, you know, I don't know what he is, 5, 6 years from now. I don't know if he is a bottom pair guy. Is he really a top 4 guy? I don't know. But he's been solid. And I think Brustevich has come up and looked really good too. And I think he's kind of gaining more trust the more he plays. And I think he's been rock solid. I think he's been really fun to watch. He was like the only good player in that Montreal game. I thought he was really solid. So, but when it comes to the forwards, I mean, like, yeah, it's like, do we really need to continue running? Like Huberdeau, I get he makes a lot of money, but I think there's some guys you need to really pull back the minutes of. Huberdeau's probably one of them. Um, Coleman, I think you keep playing the way he is because he's been playing well, and plus, and hopefully helps his trade value. But yeah, like that fourth line, like Lomberg doesn't need to be in every night. Klapka doesn't need to be in every night. Kirkland definitely doesn't need to be in every night. Even Sharon Govich at this point, yeah, he hasn't been good. And it's kind of been, we're now sitting on almost 2 years of this where I don't really think he's been very good. And see all these veteran guys, and you're like why is Zary here? Why is Coronado like? I feel like they should get Coronado with guys that are more offensively driven. But then again, we're sitting here as Blake Coleman's our leading goal scorer, so maybe they should keep him there. But yeah, it's something I worry about. And then yeah, obviously when it's come to Zayne Parekh's kind of development, like I don't necessarily understand why. And to their credit, they've been good, but like I don't understand why Kuznetsov has been given this much of a run. Like he came up and immediately played with Uyghur. Why hasn't Parekh been given that type of treatment? I don't fully understand it, and it's a reason where I really, really do think that they need to move Andersson sooner rather than later, because then that automatically opens up that spot on the right side for Parekh to go in and play. And if you're trading Andersson, I think at that point you've punted the season, right? At least hopefully in their eyes, where the season's already gone. But once they move Andersson, I think they're officially saying, okay, like we're probably done here, and then you can just play the piss out of Zayne, in that hopefully alongside Ball, and just give them all the reps that you can. That's probably where they definitely need to go, in that sort of route, because I don't think sending him back to junior does anything for him. He's already dominated there for 2 straight years. He has nothing left to prove there. And that probably just pisses off the player. It's like, hey, dude, I scored 100 points in this league last year. Like, what are you doing? And him playing in the NHL only helps him at this point. There's going to be really nothing else that is going to help him more than getting NHL reps. So they need to pick a direction. And like you said, every time I hear Conroy speak, I'm like, wow. I'm like, I love everything he's saying. Like when they extended him, what he said to me, or one of the things that he said that I was super on board with, was when he said, I'm building a team to win a championship. I'm not building a team to make the playoffs. Yeah, that is very much, I'm building more for the future. I'm not just trying to build to get into the playoffs this year, right? And every time he speaks, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. Like he was talking about Parekh at the World Juniors. He was so impressed with Reschny, all this. And then they throw Maloney in front of a mic, and he's talking like, we're not rebuilding. No idea what even their plan is. I think we'll find out sooner rather than later what the plan is. Like once Andersson gets moved, and hopefully they move Coleman at some point, and even Kadri. Like, it was reported that he would be open to a move that came along, which I think unfortunately he's not playing his best hockey right now, but I would imagine there's more than a few teams that would probably be interested in his services for sure. I don't think the $7 million cap hit is as bad as maybe it looked when they signed him. And I think a lot of teams could use like a 2C, or even he can be like a super 3C for some team, We'll see where that goes. I hope that they're more proactive, because obviously in Conroy's time as GM, in his tenure, they've only traded guys when they were on the last year of their deal and were very specific in saying, I'm not signing. Dorov said he wasn't staying. Foley said he wasn't staying. NF said he wasn't staying. Lindholm, Markstrom, Japani. Japani's was, I think, pretty proactive because they moved him at the draft at the very least.
Yeah.
But all of these players, they've just been more like, we're not sticking around, so you have to trade us, right? I would like to see Conroy be like, yeah, I know, Coleman, you want to stay, but I'm going to move you anyway because X team is offering me a first and a prospect.
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Yeah, that
funny
seems
to me,
like a
like, 'cause
no-brainer.
yeah, and theoretically, it won't happen. There's a world in which you walk into this draft with 5 first-round picks.
Yeah,
You can I
they have
think
the assets.
Anderson I think at this point, Anderson has to be a first and more with the way he's played.
Yeah,
Kadri can net you a first. Again, maybe not this year. And if Yegor Chinikov is going for a second, you're telling me Coleman can't net a first with the way he's been playing?
yeah,
It's fantasy world, apparently, though.
yeah. That's the thing. It's like you said, like Anderson is one thing because of UFA. So it's like, yeah, that's. I mean, it would be a disaster if they didn't trade him because then you're probably losing him for nothing. But yeah, when it comes to like Coleman and Kadri, I'm still hesitant to think that that move is going to happen just because it's not something they've ever done under Condra. And I don't even think that's Condra. I think that's 100%, the
Ownership.
ownership group, Maloney in
Yep.
his ear telling him, you're not trading Blake Coleman or Nazem Kadri. I mean, Maloney came out and said Kadri's untouchable. We need more of him. Like, I think like in a lot of those cases where they haven't made these deals, it's out of Conroy's control. But like you said, I think hopefully, you're going to have to move Anderson. I think he's been your best defenseman this year. That's going to leave a major hole on a team that's already third last in the league. Hopefully that kind of makes them catch on and think, yeah, this is not the year. Like we've got teams lining up for Blake Coleman. Apparently they've received more calls on Coleman than any other player. Like that's a guy he's the perfect playoff ad for any contender.
Yeah.
He's won 2 cups. He's shown he can do it, going from New Jersey to Tampa and then they win 2 cups. He was an integral part of that team. Like he's still on pace for over 20 goals this year. Like there's no doubt in my mind teams are offering first round picks for Blake Coleman or like a
Has to
very,
be.
very good prospect. And yeah, like as much as I love Blake Coleman, I think he's a great player. Like he's been a very, very good Flame. The Flames have got more than they paid for out of that contract, which
Absolutely.
when it was first signed, some people were like, oh, that's a bit of a rough contract. But here we are.
Yeah, that was me at that time. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think this is going to age very well. And to
Yeah.
his
I thought,
credit, he's
okay,
been,
a
very
couple of
good.
years he'll be good. But yeah, here we are second last year and he's literally leading the team in goals. So like I
Yeah,
think if you're
scored
the Flames, you
30 a
got
few
to
years
look at that
ago.
and say, we got this guy for free in free agency. We didn't pay any assets for him. He's given us more than enough value. If we can now flip him for a first and something, that's just really strong asset management. You used him when you needed him, like that 21-22 team, who's a huge player. Like when you're actually competing for the playoffs, he was a huge player. Now at this point, you just really don't have use for him anymore. As good as a player he is, you've got Backlund, Uyghur, Huberdeau, like those guys aren't going anywhere. Those are your leaders. You don't need the Colemans, Kadris necessarily. Like you have
Anderson's.
leaders in that room still. Yeah, exactly. So I think Anderson obviously is no brainer because of his contract, but I think Coleman really is too. I just think you just got to take advantage of a 34-year-old having one of the best years of his career at this point. His reputation around the league, his contract is very small, would easily be able to retain
Yeah.
on that
Like
and send him to
4.9
almost
in this
anyone.
day and age is,
Nothing. Yeah.
even if the
Like,
Flames retain on him, like you retain 50%, he's $2 million. Like any
yeah,
team
like
would be able to fit that at that point.
teams like Tampa, like they've
Well,
always
Tampa would
find
probably
ways to,
kill to bring him back too.
yeah, they find ways to stash some guy in a cupboard and all of a sudden they have 6 million cap available. So like if they wanted him, they could get him. So I think
Yeah.
there's it just doesn't make sense to keep Coleman as much as I like him as a player.
Yeah,
Kadri is a
absolutely.
tougher one, obviously, because of the contracts. 3 more years, 7 million. Or was it 3, 4 more years? But a
3
lot,
after this season.
yeah. So a lot harder to move. But again, if a team comes to you and says, we'll give you a first and a very good prospect, I don't see how you turn that down. Obviously, it's up to Kadri a bit because of his no trade clause, but I think at the end of the day, we're not asking the Flames to go and just trade every veteran they have. Like, I'm not saying trade Uyghur,
Absolutely.
trade Backlund. I mean, I would love to trade Huberdeau, but no one's taking him regardless. But
No one's taking that. No one's taking
yeah,
that
but I
deal.
think like Coleman and Kadri are 2 guys in their mid 30s who you probably, when you signed those deals, did not think you would still have this much value in them at this
No,
point. Like
I thought
it,
Kadri had been washed by now.
yeah, oh, that the day it was signed, like, yeah, this contract, it's like I'm excited because at the time the Flames look like a contender, but like, yeah, this is going to be an absolute nightmare contract in a few years. And
And
I
to
would
his
say
credit,
now
he's been great.
most people would say 7 million for Nazem Kadri is fair value. Like that's a 60, probably on a good team, he's probably getting you 70 points considering
Yeah,
he's
well,
putting
he
up
had
60 on the
what
Flames.
60, it's 67 last year. He had 75 the year before.
Yeah,
He was
this
on
year,
pace to do 70 again until he's hit the rut he's been in.
yeah,
He's
like
been
this
a
year
really
on,
good player for this team that
yeah, like he's
admittedly hasn't
still
been able to score the
over
last few
60.
years.
I think Flames are second last in the league in goals for per game this year. There's not a single other Flame on pace for over 50 points, and he's still on pace for over 60. So like, you plug him into the second line on a contender, and he's probably getting you 70 points in a full
Yeah.
season. And again, he's not showing, long term, he's not showing any signs of slowing down. He goes through
No.
ruts, but I think he's probably still
But
got
he's
a
just on a
couple more
bad
good years
team.
in him. Yeah, exactly. So I think I that one's obviously maybe more of a summer deal just because of the contract and everything. But yeah,
Probably.
Coleman, I think
And with the cap
absolutely,
jumping,
yeah, Coleman should be gone before the deadline. If I
for
can't see
sure.
the offers not being there, and then yeah, Anderson is obviously a no-brainer. I'm curious how that's going to go because you look at it now, we're less than a month to the Olympic break at this point, and then after that, you get back from the Olympics, and there's like 2 weeks,
Till the
1.5
deadline.
weeks until the deadline. So it's kind of coming up quick because of the Olympic break. So you really only have 3, 4-ish weeks here to kind of make a deal around that trade freeze. So I know a lot of the insiders have been kind of mentioning that Anderson might be moved before the Olympic freeze, and that's kind of
Which
what the
would be
Flames
the
want to
smartest
do.
thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. The last thing you want him is going to the Olympics, which is every game at the Olympics is like playoff hockey, so the intensity is way up. Is he blows his knee out or something, and then
Yeah.
you're getting nothing for him because you waited this long. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But I think it's especially with the way the Flames have played of late, dropping 4 in a row. They're playing Pittsburgh again, who's on a roll right now. They were at 500 when we switched over the new year, and they've immediately dropped back to third
Yeah.
last in the league. So I think at this point, you just kind of admit where you are and that you're not going anywhere. I think if they would have won 4 in a row instead, they would have been in the playoff spot, and then I could say, okay, maybe it's worth waiting longer. At
At
this
this
point,
point.
like you're not going anywhere fast. Just
Nope.
I hopefully it's time that they just kind of admit, like, okay, this it wasn't just a 2 month blip; it's a full season blip or whatever you
Yeah,
want to call it.
absolutely.
But like, it's time to
Like
just
last year was the blip.
regroup. Yeah, exactly.
Last year
Yeah,
was insane how they banked 96 points.
yeah.
Don't know how.
Yeah. Dustin Wolf.
Yeah.
Ryan
He was
Huska
great.
owes Dustin Wolf like half of his contract because he's the main reason he got that big
Yeah.
extension. Because I was looking at Huska's history as a pro coach. He
He's
coached in the
brutal. It's terrible.
in the AHL for 4 years for the Flames. Missed the playoffs 3 times. I'm eliminated in the first round once. And the NHL, he's missed the playoffs, and now they're 30th in the league. So it's like, I don't know how you look at that and say, yeah, this guy deserves a 2-year extension. But
Oh, it's the
again, he's their
culture. Come on.
guy. Yeah, he's their guy. He's been around forever. He's been an assistant. Like, he's
He's been with
familiar
the
to
Flames
Conroy.
for
So
God knows how long. Because he got
yeah, exactly.
promoted to the Flames bench in 2018 when they brought in Peters, I want to say, is when he got promoted.
Yeah, I think so. Because he
And he's
was,
been like it's
yeah,
been a
2018. Yeah. So he
long
was,
time that he's been on, like, not just in the organization but with the Flames specifically. It's been
yeah,
like we're sitting on
7 years,
8 years
eight
now.
years. Yeah.
It's crazy. Um yeah, I don't know. Just quickly on the I want to just point on the Anderson stuff super quick. Like, I remember in the summer we were like, man, if they don't move him, this is a disaster. And they're very lucky that all these players that were to be UFAs in 2026 all signed. They're lucky Hughes got traded as early as he did. I would argue Rasmus Andersson is number 2 or 3 probably on trade boards. Like, I'd probably put Artemi Panarin up there if Buffalo falls off, which I don't know if they will. Like, Alex Tuck could be up there,
Yeah.
and then but Anderson's probably the number 1 defenseman on the board,
Oh, 100%.
unless
Yeah.
somebody becomes available. Like, unless there's a world in which, I don't think it'll happen, but unless there's a world in which do the Rangers make Adam Fox available, then you're kind of in a different situation. However, for a pure rental, Anderson's the number 1 guy on the board. They're lucky all that stuff happened. They're lucky he's having the season that he's having, because he's been great this year as opposed to last year. He was brutal. You're now dealing from a position of strength where you have all these guys who are right-handed shooting defensemen that are coming up, and like Bustevich has looked great. Parekh, they got to get him in the lineup. Weegar is still, I know he's having a really bad year, but he's still very good. Now it's like, okay, we can move this player and probably be happy about it. And now we're going to get a big return because of the year he's having and because he's really the only good defenseman available. And he's only making 4.5. They're lucky that it's kind of worked out this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it could have gone a whole other direction. Like, imagine he has a year like he did last year. And you're like, oh man, like, you may you might get a second for him, and that's
Yeah.
it. This is a player that, like, it could have been the Tanev return, a second in Grushnikov, and I
Yeah.
don't remember who the second turned into. It might have been Battaglia.
Battaglia, yeah.
And Grushnikov, who I don't think is ever going to scratch the surface of the NHL. It could have been really bad, but now it's like, okay, he's having a really good year. But again, the longer you wait, the longer you knock on wood,
Risk. Yeah.
you risk injury, right? And like you said, the Olympics, we don't know how that ice is. Like, there was a giant hole in it yesterday. Something
Much
could
smaller,
happen.
yeah.
It's much smaller. And again, I don't know how much he's going to be playing for Sweden. I don't think he played a ton at Four Nations. I want to say he maybe only got into one game.
He's like, yeah, extra.
But you're every game you play, you risk something happening. Like, Coleman got hurt last game. I don't believe it's long term. We'll see if he's in the lineup today. But I think I read that Huska just said, like, there was no point of bringing him back in. So to me, it's like, okay, positive. I don't think it's anything bad. So you run the risk of him getting injured, and again, if he does, and if it's like long term, yeah, you're not getting anything for that player, because who's going to trade for an injured player at top dollar? You're not getting anything for him at that point. So you get it done before the Olympics, hopefully, and then it's kind of full on. Now we can look at, okay, do we move Coleman now if the offers are right? We'll see. It's going to be interesting because they're already so bad. They're 3 points out of last. Hopefully you get a big win from Vancouver. And I think, does Winnipeg play tonight? I don't know if they do. I think they play tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not
But
sure.
we'll see where that goes. I just hope that hopefully Conroy can kind of convince ownership to be like, hey, like, listen, this isn't the year. It's a good draft. Let's just kind of go all in on this because we're already at near the bottom.
Yeah. The losing streak came at like the perfect time, honestly,
Yep.
because
And if they lose again today, it could be really bad.
the
And
curtains.
there's
Yeah.
one player on this team that I feel so bad for. There's only one. It's Dustin Wolf. Because
Yeah.
I didn't know why they started him against Boston on the back-to-back, and then it was like, oh, Cooley's sick. And I'm like, okay, but also, why didn't you call anybody up? Because
Yeah.
Cooley was sick when they were at home in against Seattle on Monday, and Owen Say backed up. And I'm like, okay. And then they go on the road, and they're like, oh, yeah, Cooley's still sick. What? Why is he here then? Like, what? Like, you have
Why
a
are you throwing Wolf
back-to-back.
out? Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that was insane. Like, they get absolutely blown to shreds against Montreal. Like, that first period, like, he made 4, 5, $10. Only reason it was tied going into the second, and then Montreal gets those 3 quick ones, and you're like, okay, like, the team's playing awful. And then Caulfield scores that one in the third, and it was curtains from there, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you go into Boston, okay, like, and I was like, oh, okay, Cooley starts tomorrow, and then the game starts and Wolf's in. I'm like, what? I'm like, what are we doing here? And then again, they're like, oh, well, Cooley's sick. I'm like, well, then he shouldn't have been on the road trip. You should have brought somebody else. Like, that's the other thing.
100%.
I'm like, I'm so blown away by last year. It was like, I want to say up until even at this point a year ago, they were still splitting him and Vladar. And this year, it's like, no, we're just second year, we're running you into the ground.
Yeah, that's a little worrying for sure, I think.
It's insane. It's like, again, I get it. And like, I bet if you asked Wolfie, he'd be like, I will start every game because I think that's the kind of player he wants to be. But however, you're sitting in 30th. He's on pace for 70 starts.
Yeah, it's not good.
Maybe
And
let's not do that.
His only second year in the NHL. Like, he's got such a long career ahead of him, and you should, he's right now, he's your best player. He's your franchise goaltender. Like, this is a guy you should be managing very, very carefully because, again, he's what, 24, 25 or whatever he is. Like, goalies have
24 years old, like, he's
can go until their mid-30s if you manage them properly.
Yep.
So it's
I think that was the biggest issue with Markstrom.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I know Sutter was stubborn in his own ways, but at least he was a good coach. Like, yeah, there was those couple years there where he just kept starting him.
Yeah.
And you saw eventually it took a toll on him, and you can kind of see it in New Jersey now.
Yeah, he's worn down.
But yeah, like, I just, they can't do the same thing with Wolfie.
Yeah, goalies,
I just can't.
Yeah. They're not built like Kiprusoff anymore.
No, and even Kipper, I think they ran into the ground even at that point in time. Even though
he retired young. Yeah.
And he was like, I just don't want to do it anymore. He probably could have played for another 5 years. Like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But like, I think he'd be if they traded Wolf, he's probably the only player on the team I'd be upset with if they moved. And like, I say that as like the world's biggest Uyghur stan. Like, I'd be like mildly upset if they traded Uyghur, but like, I'd also be like, yeah, he's
See the
also
sentiment
in his
behind it. Yeah.
30s and whatnot. Like, I have no emotional connection to really anybody on this team.
Yeah.
And if they start moving guys, oh well, it is what it is. I'm not going to be crying in my room like when Johnny left or like when they moved to Chucky.
It's not the same. Yeah.
It's not like none of these guys are impact players moving forward. Like I said, maybe outside of like definitely Wolfie. I don't know about Coronado. I still think his ceiling's decently high. Zary,
Yeah.
I worry about.
Who knows with him? Yeah.
I worry that it's gonna be Sam Bennett. Like they're gonna move him. He's gonna go somewhere and be unreal.
It's trending
Because you
that
can see
way.
the talent's there with him. Like
You
it's
still,
very
yeah.
obviously it's there. It's about it's again the utilization of him and man, it would be they need a top forward so badly.
Yeah.
It
It's
changes
crazy. Yeah.
everything if they're able to get that player,
Yeah. As much as I hate on the Flames, like I do think like if they were to get a McKenna, Stenberg, like I think that would
that level.
honestly like just my hope for the future would go so much higher because I do think they're relatively close. Like Conroy has done an exceptional job at the draft. Picking up in back-to-back years, Reschny, Potter, Parekh, Gridden is just an insane haul considering they didn't have a single pick in the top 8. And, Gridden and Potter are both in the bottom of the first. Like,
Yeah.
they're just missing that blue
And
chip
Potter's
forward.
looked
Like,
amazing as of late.
yeah, point per
So
game.
good.
Like, Whitenback has been a point per game guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Whitenback's
like
up
the
to
next Johnny
30 points in
Gaudreau.
21 games
Yeah,
at
and he was like
Quinnipiac.
a mid-round pick. So it's like
Yeah,
you're
fifth.
just missing that one big fish, I think. And honestly, if they got that big fish, then I could look at this team and say, wow, the future actually doesn't look that bad. But right now, without that, I think they've got a lot of good pieces, but I mean, they're just
Nothing
they're
top
just
line, nothing
yeah.
superstar.
Like
And you know
the
what? Maybe one of
defense
these
is
guys
good.
do turn into a superstar and we're
Yeah, you never
having a
know.
completely different
Yeah,
conversation. But yeah, I mean, I look at how I look how good Celebrini's played,
yeah.
and I
Bedard at the
think
beginning
about
of the year,
that
like
year that they obviously got Parekh in that draft, but like, man, if they just lost, like
two
I know they
weapons.
went on a
Yeah,
heater, like I want to say midway through that season and got themselves near a playoff spot. Like I just imagine a world where they just didn't and they got him, and like how different everything looks
yeah,
today with how amazing he's been for San Jose. It's like San Jose like already had I think they were a lot like the Flames where they had all these good prospects, but they didn't have like that superstar level guy. And then they drafted Celebrini, and it was like, yeah, like they could make the
game
playoffs
changer. Yeah,
this season, like overnight,
yeah.
and then
Completely
it's like
changes your franchise.
overnight,
Yeah,
yeah, and like yeah, they got guys like Chernyshov and Smith and Dickinson. Oh my God, Chernyshov's been unbelievable for them. But like he was obviously that missing piece, and they got him. And the same thing with Chicago with Bedard, and I get these guys are. I don't think McKenna's going to be that level of player.
yeah.
If
Doesn't seem like it
even
anymore.
Stenberg, I really liked what I saw. Like I liked what I saw from both of them. I think McKenna caught too much flack at the World
Yeah,
Juniors. He was 2
yeah,
points per game.
yeah,
But yeah, like you said, they've done a really good job drafting, support pieces and guys that I think could play on a top line, but isn't the star. If they can find that player, yeah, they're in a really good spot. So
yeah. Like Reschny, I think is a guy where, yeah, I probably wouldn't project him as a 1C, but if you had a McKenna or Stenberg beside him, then I think that could work as a first line. I think Lindholm is a perfect example. Like
and Monahan
Elias
even to
Lindholm
a
is,
lesser extent.
yeah, Monahan too. Like those guys weren't your typical like elite 1Cs. I think on a good team they're 2Cs, but you put them beside Gaudreau and Kachuk, and yeah, you have one of the best even strike lines in the history of the league. So it's like it's as long as you have that blue chip talent and that elite talent, you can kind of plug other guys in around them, even if it's not a center. So like, yeah, if you get a McKenna, I think you could probably float with Reschny as your 1C and still be a very, very good team because, that's just how it works when you have those blue chip type players. But yeah, again, I think it's even if they're picking like 8 or 9 this year, that would still be great. But I'd still be like, man, it's such a missed opportunity because
I agree. The only
even in a
way
deep
I look at
draft,
it, and like if they finish whatever third last, and they drop in the lottery 4 slots, okay, nothing you can do, right? Like they tanked, they finished third last. If they just drop
Bad
in the
luck. Yeah.
lottery, it is what it is. But like if they end up finishing, I don't know, 24th, 23rd, and they stay in their spot, yeah, I do feel like it's a lost season because
Yeah.
like you finally had your tank year. Wolf didn't play out of his mind,
Yeah.
and you're
This is
gonna
the year
end
to
up
do
with a
it. Yeah.
guy that might be a second line center. Yeah, I think it would be. I agree, it'd be disappointing. I think Boston, like even though they got Hagens last year, like you don't think they were upset that like they finally sold a bunch of dudes, they finished fourth
Bottomed
last,
out.
and
Yeah.
they drop all the way to seventh. It's like, oh, like we had a chance at like a Misa or a Frondell or whatever, and they end up with none of them. They got Hagens, who I think is gonna be good, but like just that is a kind of an example,
There's a
right?
big difference. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, well,
Like
I
every
I hope,
draft.
yeah, and it's again, it's no guarantee that you draft the guy at 1 and he becomes unbelievable,
Yeah. 100%.
but
Yeah.
more times
Likely
than
than not.
not,
Yeah.
they end up being really good. Like you look at the last 3 drafts in particular, Bedard should have made Team Canada, unbelievable. Celebrini on pace to have one of the best 19-year-old seasons ever, and Matthew Schaefer is. I don't think anybody thought he'd be this good this quickly.
Yeah. He's
Again,
like a Norris candidate at
another guy
18 or
that should
19.
have
Like,
been there at the Olympics, and he's,
yeah.
you can argue, has been a top 3 defenseman in hockey this year.
Yeah. I mean, look at the
Those
Islanders.
guys
They were
are, yep,
such a nothing organization for the past few years. They bring in Schaefer, and now the excitement, like their style, the way they play, just everything about them looks so much brighter in the future now, just because they added that
yeah.
elite,
They
like
got lucky for
franchise-changing
sure.
player.
Like
Oh
what
yeah,
they jumped
100%.
10-1. You
Yeah,
got
they were like,
extremely lucky
yeah,
in getting him, but they
yeah,
got him, and he has changed the entire complexion of that organization,
organization. Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that's what the
So,
Flames need. That's yeah. I mean, they've never picked in the top three in their history, and that's why they are known for what they are known for, as being mediocre. Because yeah, either they luck into it with a guy like Gaudreau, or they make a trade for a Ginla like over 20 years ago.
or a Matthew
Kachuk sixth
Tkachuk who,
overall.
yeah, like Tkachuk shouldn't have dropped the 6. They're
No,
just lucky he did. And like I
Canucks.
think
Yeah,
people are under the assumption that like we're like you can't find anybody outside of the top 3. Like no, it's like we've
yeah,
never said that. It's just the likelihood of finding a guy who's going to be an unbelievable superstar top line center
much higher in those spots. Yeah,
is it's unlikely. And I'm not saying you can't, because obviously like the Flames have history. Like obviously they got Gaudreau in the 4th round. A guy like David Pastrnak was at 25th overall. Like I know his
Kaprizov,
career
like
was kind of up and down, but like even Evgeny Kuznetsov went late in the 1st, and he ended up being like a huge piece of the Capitals Cup run,
yeah,
right? But like again, those are unlikely finds. You need to
yeah,
find. You need to get that guy in the top 3, usually even top 2, right?
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
impossible to find somebody outside. Maybe Cole Reschny is unbelievable one day, and
yeah. We don't know yet. Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
know. But it's, yeah, you need that top pick to get it. But we'll see what they do. If they get, I'd be more I'd be happier if they just committed to something. Like, okay, I can see the
Yeah,
long term vision here, and I'm sure we've mentioned it a million times, but there's a lot of guys on this roster that you can look at today and be like, yeah, we could trade Frost. I think you'd be dumb not to even consider at this point, considering
yeah,
he's got 1 year
yeah.
left on his deal after this. Even someone like Farabee, can you move him? He's having kind of a decent year. There's a lot of guys on this team that you can move and probably be pretty happy with.
Wouldn't be upset about. I think Wolf, like you said, Wolf's probably the only untouchable, like not including Parekh, not on the NHL roster right now, but yeah, Wolf's probably the only guy Parekh I would put in there too if if he was in the lineup. But anyone else, like even a guy like Coronado, I like Coronado. I think he's got like 60-point potential, but
Same.
is he a game changer? No. Like if someone's offering me a potential top 3 pick or some sort of package that you're getting a potentially elite player and Coronado's part of that package, I would not hesitate to pull the trigger.
Absolutely.
It's the nature of the game, and you need those top end guys. And outside of Wolf and Parekh, I don't think the Flames have that on their current NHL team. Or I mean, Huberdeau was 15 years ago, but he's on pace for 40 points now, so he's a
Yeah.
third liner at this point. But
It's honestly just sad. I was watching him on Wednesday, and it was just like he made a, like, my dad like made a comment, like he made a pass, and Like, wasn't even close, or a Montreal guy picked it off, and I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, he had 85 assists like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like, and my dad was like, who? And I'm like, Huberdeau. Yeah,
Historic fall
yeah,
off, like
I
one
feel
of the
like
biggest. Yeah.
I feel bad for him on one side. Like, man, like, you look at how much of a rock star like Kachuk has been in Florida. It's like he's walking into the Winter Classic in a Ferrari, smoking a cigar, like having the time of his life. You got Huberdeau, he's like has to drive to the dome in negative 25-degree weather. There's 30 centimeters of snow outside.
Yeah.
But then also you're making $10.5 million and you've been pouting for 4 years. Grow up. Like, I get it. I bet I'd probably feel the same way if I had to watch the guy that they traded me for win 2 cups and be a huge part of cup runs, and now he's like, I know a lot of people don't like it, but you can argue Matthew Tkachuk's the face of the NHL right now.
Yeah.
Again,
100%.
I know a lot of people don't like it. But man, Huber's gotta be like, oh, that should have been me.
Yeah. Now he's stuck here and he's
Now he's
going
stuck
nowhere
here.
fast. Mm,
Yeah,
5 more years or 4 more years or whatever he's got on his deal. But
yeah,
yeah.
is what it is.
Um, all right. Thanks everyone for listening to the first official Win Column Calgary Flames podcast. Obviously, lots to talk about. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks, where hopefully there'll be some more news around the trade deadline, Olympics, and everything Flames. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe on your podcast listening platform of choice, and we'll catch you in the next one.